Welcome back to Justin Talks Villa with another little bit of a roundup show of what's been going on at Villa for the last week or so. I thought I'd jump on. I'll just have a chat with you about some of the hot topics that are floating around the Villa sphere, shall we call it, over the last 7 days. So, if you are new around here, please drop me a sub. Please drop this video a like and get involved in the comments section. It is fantastic, all the things that people are saying. I've had a brilliant feedback from the Kevin Gage interview. If you haven't seen that already, please go and have a look at that. He's an absolutely lovely guy, really nice guy. He made the effort to drive all the way down from Dronfield near Sheffield, where he lives, to talk to me the other day, and I couldn't have wished for a nicer bloke and a nicer interview. It flowed like you couldn't believe. And massive thanks to Chasetown Football Club as well for their help with me and that interview. So, where should we start? We might as well stick with the podcast for a little bit. And I am interviewing somebody I have known for a very long time next week. Somebody that even before I even started podcasting on Up the Villa podcast, let alone my own show, so many times I was tempted to get a voice recorder and go and sit round his house and just talk to him for hours and hours and hours, because he's such a top guy. I'll bring his picture up now. Obviously, the great Jim Walker. I've known him for many years in Sutton. We've been based in Sutton Coldfield for 45 years, and Jim's been in and around the town for a very long time. His daughter worked pretty close to us for a long time. So I've known him for a really long time, and I've spent many happy afternoon being regaled by his fantastic plethora of stories back from when he was a player. Many people don't know he was a very successful footballer as well before he became Aston Villa's physio. He won the league with Derby County under the tutelage of the great Brian Clough. So you can imagine the Brian Clough stories he has. And then obviously came into physiotherapy and to the Villa for many years. And so many footballers have credited the longevity of their career and also saving their careers from a possible ending, none more so than the wonderful Paul McGrath, who credits Jim in his autobiography about how much he helped him in his, not just his career, but his life. So I'm really looking forward to this next week. And it's got an added little bonus for me, is that I've been badgering him for years to write a book, and I can exclusively reveal tonight that he is on the verge of finishing his book. Rob Bishop is helping him with it and will be writing it. And I will be doing my very best to help them both put it out there and push it as far as I can. Hopefully, by the time I interview him next week, we'll have pre-orders available. So I'll be able to give you the links for pre-orders. What I will say is this is the kind of man he is. He will be making not 1 penny out of this book. All of the money will be going to dementia charity, which is something close to my heart, as my mom has been diagnosed with dementia. So, I will be doing everything I possibly can to not only help Jim, an absolute gentleman of a man, but to help him with his book and with the sales to get it out there to raise as much money as we possibly can for charity. So please look out for this next week. I am really looking forward to this one. So we'll move on to the next subject, and it is an interesting one. I'm going to bring up a question because I have asked people for questions, so I thought I'd talk about this one. So James Saunders said Ashley Young. Now, we all know Ashley Young has played for us twice in 2 very successful spells at Aston Villa. And this week, I have been led to believe that Ashley Young will be returning for a 3rd time to Villa. But as far as I'm aware, and to the best of my knowledge, it won't be in a playing role. It will be to do his coaching badges. And then I presume to think that he will take up some kind of position with the academy. That's what I am led to believe. So that's going to be a very interesting one to watch out for over the next few weeks. And I think, given his experience and given where he's played and given his career longevity, it will be a fantastic addition to Aston Villa and to all of the kids coming through. We know we've got an absolutely wonderful group of 18s coming through currently. So to have a player like Ashley Young to bounce off and to take information off will be absolutely brilliant. And if we can help Ashley like he has helped us with his coaching, then I think there's nothing not to like about this potential incoming to Aston Villa. Right, next subject. Now, this is an interesting one. Now, this is going to revolve around my brother, who has a bit of backstory. So myself and my brother Nick, I've got three brothers, two that I've been down the Villa with for a long time. My older brother doesn't go anymore; he lives in London. But myself and my middle brother Nick have been going down Villa for years and years and years and years. And I had a season ticket with him for many, many, many years. Our last season ticket together was behind the dugout in the Trinity, and then a few years ago, during Villa's rough spell, I think you'll say, he basically had a child, his first child, and he decided through many reasons to give his season ticket up and concentrate on bringing up his son, which is a fair reason not to go to Villa. And he basically just goes to as many games as he possibly can get to. So he's been on the waiting list now for quite a while because he wanted to get back a season ticket. Now his boy's grown up a little bit and he's got his son on the waiting list as well. Now this morning, like many people, an email dropped into his inbox. And obviously we heard of the restructuring of the season ticket waiting list quite recently. So I'm just going to share with you the email he received this morning and what it meant to him personally with his hope of getting a season ticket over the next 1 or 2 seasons. I'll take this off. As we announced during our ticketing consultation with the Fan Advisory Board, we will be reconfiguring the season ticket waiting list from the 1st of July 2025. The list will now be ranked according to points accrued over the past 2 seasons, 23-24, 24-25. The points are awarded as follows: 1 for attending each home Premier League game, 2 for an attendance of each home domestic or European Cup match, and 100 points awarded to all current Claret Light, Villains and club members. Now, I thought this was a fantastic idea. I thought that it rewards fans that are currently going to as many games as they possibly can over the last 2 seasons in what's been obviously a very successful time. So it's been very difficult to get tickets. But if you are able to get tickets and you've made a concerted effort and you are able to financially, obviously I understand other people's financial constraints would mean that they can't get to games. And that's always going to be a conjecture, isn't it, over these decisions made by the club. But I think overall it is a pretty fair system, although I have been on social media just before I came on to have a look at the general thoughts have been about this, and it's not all been positive, but I think most people who are fair-minded, shall I say, will see this as not a bad thing to happen. So what does it mean to him personally? Let's try and get that back so I can read it all. So what does it mean to him personally? Well, this is what it means to him. His current status is 154 points. That's points accrued over the last 2 seasons. His previous position on the waiting list, now this is absolutely incredible, was 17,937. His new position on the waiting list is 685, which is, I mean, for him, he's absolutely over the moon. And I totally understand there's people out there that have gone from quite a high number to a very, very low number. So we're currently going through a renewal process. So essentially, they're saying now that because of where you are on the list, if there is any season tickets available this summer and next summer, then they will go to the people that are next in line. Obviously, the reconfigured line, not the old line. Now, as I say, I've been on social media and I've seen people who were fairly high up in this queue now been dropped down the list. Now that is, well, we know why that's happened is because over the last 2 seasons they have been to, whoever it is has been to very, very few games. Now obviously, there are going to be exceptions to the rule where people have circumstances where they probably would have gone and haven't, for probably very, very good reasons, have now suffered from the new rules. But I think, as I say, you are never going to please everybody, and I think the club always have to try and please the majority as much as they possibly can. But you will always end up annoying a certain percentage of fans. But as I say, I think this is pretty fair system. It's rewarding the most loyal fans over the most recent amount of time, 2 full seasons. So I think, although people are saying it's sort of been brought on them and it's difficult to change something that has been going for years, I don't really think they could have done it any other positive way. So obviously for my brother, it's been a positive, but for other people, it has been a negative. So that's that. Right. Next subject. We are flying through these subjects at the moment. Let's have a look. What should we go with next? Right. This is an interesting one. Or shall I do the other? Actually, I'll do the other one first. And this will give you a bit of a hint as to what I'm going to talk about next. Alejandro Garnacho and that picture on his Instagram feed. Basically, he has rattled the entire Manchester United fan base, and particularly this man here, Mark, Nottingham Forest fan, Goldbridge. And I love it, to be honest. I love that they're rattled. I love that he's annoyed everybody. I love that he has done something that has annoyed a club that has been the bane of my life since I was a kid in the 90s, and they won everything. They took every good player off us and they just literally swooped in and bought everybody that I really loved at Villa, and they didn't care. So I think sometimes what goes around comes around, and they're in a position where they are not in a good place and their better players want to play somewhere else. But I will put another little slant on this. Let's not forget that it wasn't that long ago, let's say the last game of last season, ironically against Aston Villa, where Garnacho was left out of the squad and then apparently, widely reported, was told by Ruben Amorim that he can leave. Don't want you anymore. You're not a part of my plans, so please just go. So what is a young kid of his age supposed to do when he's told by his club that he can leave? Now, you could say it's a little bit immature wearing another team shirt because he knew by posting that picture he was going to annoy a lot of people. And obviously, here's the main picture in there. And the fact that Marcus Rashford has commented as well, adds a little bit of petrol to the flames of the fire. But as I say, any other club, I think I probably would be a little bit less enamoured by what he did. But quite frankly, it's Manchester United and I don't care. So if he wants to come to Villa, I think I would sign him. Yeah, I think he's a really good young player. I think as long as he doesn't come and upset the apple cart with poor attitude, which was basically aimed at Marcus Rashford when he signed, but we certainly didn't see any of that while he was at Aston Villa. So if we can replicate that with Garnacho, then we've got a fantastic player on our hands. So I'm not massively worried about this picture. It might be nothing. It might just be that Rashford gave him his Villa shirt and he's just got it on and someone took a candid picture of him. You can read into things anyway, can't you? But the fact it's rattled an entire fan base, I'm absolutely over the moon about. Right, the next thing I'm going to talk about was a clip that I saw doing the rounds over on TikTok. So I'm going to play the clip in and I might just I think I will stop it as we're going through to go over some of the points made by I'm going to say, quite annoying character that was speaking.
Villa fans going, it's just outrageous that we have to sell now. It's outrageous that you gamble on something and it doesn't work.
Right, I'll just start that again because I don't know why I brought myself up. Have you ever heard a Villa fan talk like that? No. So let's start again.
I'm so annoyed at like Villa fans going, "Oh, it's just an outrageous that we have to sell now. It's an outrage that we have to sell." It's like, well, if you gamble on something and it doesn't work, this is what happens. If you spend all your money on wages and offer people ridiculous contracts and it doesn't work because of the last game of the season, I am very sympathetic.
Let's just address this. He's saying that if you give players massive wages and it doesn't work, then he's got no sympathy. Aston Villa have been forced, in my opinion, to go down this route, this strategy of player recruitment. And I think we've seen it rolling over the last couple of seasons. Now, I am going to come on to PSR in a minute, but this particular clip is annoying a lot of Villa fans because I think his lack of understanding of what Aston Villa are trying to do. He just thinks we are throwing money at the wall, hoping some of it sticks, and hoping we're going to be successful. It is a specific strategy, in my opinion. We are paying very high wages to try and attract the best players to Villa to try and be successful each season, to put us as high up the league as we possibly can, hopefully qualifying for Champions League football. And then at the end of the season, we then have to assess where we are with PSR, and then we have to comply by June the 30th. And then once we've complied, which we did last year by selling Douglas Luiz, we will do this year by doing something else, which I will come on to. Then we go again and we try and max out our wages. Now, it is not sustainable. We all know it is not sustainable. Well, while we are trying to catch up with the elite clubs that have had a head start over us pre-PSR, when they could spend anything they wanted on transfers and anything they wanted on wages, then obviously you have to be clever. You have to have a strategy to get around these things. And Villa's strategy is to bring the best possible players in by offering them the best possible wages and then giving Unai Emery the best possible 22 players he can to work with to try and get Villa as high up the table as he possibly can. So it's not a willy-nilly strategy. We're not just throwing money at players for the sake of it. We are trying to get the best players to Villa. And currently, we have probably one of the best squads I have ever seen in a Villa kit. And yes, we have to get to the end of the season. And yes, we have to cut our cloth accordingly. Other teams don't have to. Chelsea don't have to. So we have to play the game, which is what we are going to do. We have done it up to now this way. Things are going to change. We are going to compete with the very best.
To the fact that there should have been a goal for them, which was disallowed. I'm sympathetic to that. Yeah. But let's not.
Very nice of him to be sympathetic to a goal that was one of the most horrific refereeing decisions of all time. Thanks. Appreciate that.
Pretend that the whole season can be boiled down into one game, because it wasn't one game, okay? There were loads of other games where Villa dropped points, because there was a point where they were quite off the pace in terms of the top.
He makes some very good points there. Villa were off the pace, and we didn't finish fifth or sixth, because of that last game of the season. We finished sixth because that over a full season, that's where we finished. And yes, we did drop silly points against silly teams. But the fact we were where we were and we put ourselves in that position at the end of the season, it obviously became a very, very frustrating afternoon to miss out because of that reason. Had we had just been beaten 2-0 by Manchester United, I'd have said, okay, we were rubbish, we got beat. But the fact we got beat in that way, that's what made that last game of the season such a hard pill to swallow. But 100%, we dropped so many silly points last season that cost us ultimately. So I've got no problem with that.
So they're battling with Champions League football as well at the same time, weren't they?
And everyone's going, the refs cost us the Champions League. It's like, no, the ref didn't cost you the Champions League.
Well, he did technically because he cost us that game, which at that point would, or that 3 points, if had we potentially got on, we would have got Champions League. So they have sort of got a point, haven't they?
Your other results where you didn't win, where you dropped points, because they dropped points against bad teams last year.
Yes, we did. Dropped some points against some really bad teams. That's why I'm saying overall, we dropped points against teams where we would have capitalised and finished at least fifth.
In certain moments, that is what cost you. You shouldn't have been in a situation where you had to be beating Man United.
Why shouldn't we? As you've just said about a minute ago, we were in a pretty bad position a few months before, and we had to go on an amazing run to put ourselves in a position. So the fact we'd put ourselves in that position meant that we had a really good end of season.
to get in.
On
And
the
like,
last day.
A poor Man United team
Yeah,
as well,
a
that
poor
just
Ma-
off the back of losing a Europa League final, like that's not really an excuse.
there you go. So like, it just really winds me up that people go, oh, why do we have to sell off our
That voice again. I mean, who talks like that?
players because of what's happened? It's like, and you know what? It's not like just because you're giving all these players loads of money doesn't mean that they are necessarily the best players on the market.
But they are the best players we can attract. That is the point. They are the best players we can attract. And in the position we are in, we have to box clever. We have to think outside the box. We have to offer very good players, very good salaries for them to come and play for us whilst trying to improve ourselves on and off the pitch. It is not rocket science.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because you've got Asensio who played for Real Madrid and PSG and you can't keep him. Villa have.
I'm pretty sure we will keep Asensio, if I'm honest. I think there's a chance we could go back in for him once all our PSR issues are sorted. The sheer fact we got Asensio and Rashford in January just shows the pulling power Aston Villa have now on a lot of very, very good players, which shows that the strategy we are employing is working. And like I say, it's not a long-term strategy. We have to balance the books. But currently, this is what we have to do to compete at the top of the Premier League because all of the avenues up to now have been cut off from us.
Got to where they've got by investing smartly, going out and making good signings.
We have done that as well. We have invested smartly. Why do you think we got Yuri Tillemans on a free? Why do you think we got Morgan Rogers for under £10 million? We do it all. We go out and offer big money to big game-changing players, and we also scour the market for sensible, quality signings that Unai Emery can improve. So we'll do it again this summer.
Well, guess what? Go back to doing that.
We will. Right. Just wanted to get that rant over with. Okay, so this moves us on to the last bit of the show, which is questions from people on YouTube and on X. So we will start with this one from Favela. What are the season goals of the team? Pretty simple answer for this. I think everybody would agree. It is exactly the same as the last two seasons. Aim for the Champions League. That is number one goal. Unai Emery makes no bones about this. He said the same thing at every start of every season. The aim is to finish in the top four, which is Champions League. And that is what we will be doing next season. And I would think next season his aim will be to put silverware in the cabinet at Aston Villa. So by that we will be going full bore, hopefully, for the Europa League, for the FA Cup, and for the League Cup. So that for me are the goals, which is, I say, it's not rocket science. We all know what we are trying to achieve at Aston Villa, and I think we've had two very good bedding in seasons, 2.5 very good bedding in seasons with Unai. So this season, I'm hoping, God willing, we can kick on to the next level. Which of the last year's signings will kick on the most? Onana, thanks, Brian, or Maatsen? I think both, if I'm honest. I think we saw Onana's emergence at the end of last season, a couple of three very, very good games where we saw not just as a destroyer in the middle of the park, not just as a big presence in the middle of the park, big physical presence in our box and their box. We also saw the emergence of Onana, the very, very good footballer, very Patrick Vieira-esque, picking the ball up, running at players, taking people on. He has got a lot of ability, but he also happens to be a big guy that can do all the other things as well. So I'm hoping we're going to see a real powerhouse performance next season from Onana. And very much similar to Ian Maatsen, I think we saw his emergence towards the end of the season where he basically ousted Luca Dean in the role, and he's having a good under-21 tournament as well. So I'm hoping we're going to see a really good season from him as well. So two players that we signed last year who have had a good season, but I'm expecting big things from both of them next season. So where should we go next? Let's go for this. If you were choosing who would we sell prior to June 30th, make your top three. I don't think it's not a difficult one at the moment. I think number one would be Leon Bailey. I think with hindsight, which is a fantastic thing in football, if we'd sold him last year, which we obviously wasn't going to do because Diaby went, but looking at the season he had the season before, there's a real art to selling a player at the right time, just before they drop off, and he didn't replicate anywhere near the form he showed the season before. So I think Bailey's tenure at Villa is probably up now, and I think he probably needs a move as much as Villa probably need now to move on from Bailey. So I think he would be number one on the list. And I think you'd still get a decent probably amount for him, 20, 25 million, dare I say, in the open market now. The second player would be Luca Dean. I think he did have a really good start, and 3/4 of the way through last season, he just lost his place to Ian Matson, who came through. So I think Luca Dean, obviously, it's pretty well reported his wages are very, very high, and he's getting sort of to the tail end of his career now. He could easily do another season for us, probably 2 possibly. But I think, you could probably get a little bit of money for him this summer, which would help us as well. So I think Luca Dean would be my second choice. Third choice, I mean, it's between 3 players, one of which I don't think people will be very happy with me saying. I think you'll maybe look at the likes of Lamar Bogard, who possibly, if we had a good offer for him, what is his level? It'd be interesting to see what Unai thinks of him and his levels. If he sees he's got a long-term future at Villa, then we would retain him. But I think given he had some very, very good performances for us last season, again, we might be able to get a little bit of money for him at the moment. Matty Cash is another player that a lot of fans wouldn't be overly worried about letting go, but I think it would leave us a little bit loose at right back. Garcia, obviously, look, he's playing well for Spain from the 21s, and so he's there. I don't really see what's the value in selling Cash. Yeah, we'd probably get a reasonable fee for him, but we'd have to definitely go out and buy a first choice right back. And the other one is possibly Jacob Ramsey, which isn't going to please a lot of people, but he's another player that didn't have a brilliant season last year. Yes, he had injuries, but I mean, the levels he was at maybe 18 months, 2 years ago was fantastic. And had he kicked on, then we wouldn't be talking about this. But I don't know. I don't know what value the Villa hierarchy see currently in Jacob Ramsey. A homegrown player, obviously, he's going to pull on the heartstrings. But I think you have to look at it purely on not a business way, but you've got to look at it on what is best for the team. Now, is Jacob Ramsey going to kick on next season? Potentially. But is it a gamble keeping him around? And if he does have another fairly average season, then, are you going to just be cutting your nose off? Again, you could probably get a decent amount for him now. So I don't know. There's definitely options of outgoings that we're looking at. And again, it all depends on probably who comes in for them, to be honest. Right. So we'll move on to the last subject. And anybody that's tuning into this, the fact I've put PSR again in the title, people are going to say he's clickbaited. But no, I am going to address it. So these are the comments I've had today. Let's take those off. Darren, what was the big news you mentioned a week ago? When will we hear about the potential big news you mentioned last week? When will we get the big PSR news? How much are we selling the ladies' team to ourselves for? Does anybody really know our current PSR situation? And are NSWE really planning to do something clever like Chelsea by selling the women's team and hotels to themselves? Right. Let's talk about this. Firstly, I'm going to say this. I think I am. Cut myself there. A genuine person. I am a genuine person. I am 100% not here to piss anybody off. I hate clickbait things. I hate when you click on something and and I know it happens a lot in social media and online. But I genuinely wrestled with myself when I tweeted out what I did, that PSR issues should be resolved, because I knew that I couldn't say why they would be resolved. So obviously, when I put that out, I knew I was opening myself up to potentially a bit of hate. I don't think I've had a lot of hate about it. I've had a few dodgy comments calling me a liar, and he's just after attention, and he's just after some clout. And genuinely, it's not. Anything I put out is with a positive slant on it. I will not ever say anything that I don't believe. That doesn't mean it will always come true, but over the last 5 years and before that, I have garnered quite a lot of contacts. Now, not all of them come up with really good information, because it is an absolute minefield when you get a message or you talk to somebody that's talked to somebody, because you've got Chinese whispers, you've got he said this, he said that. Somebody tells somebody something and it gets slightly changed or lost in translation. So it is very, very difficult to hear information and to then think, what do you do with that information? Now, Aston Villa are in a small pickle with PSR. We know that. I had Kieran Maguire on a couple of weeks ago to talk about it, and he gave us a lot of hope, saying that we wasn't as deep in the mire as we was the season before, when we had to lose Douglas Luiz for 50-odd million to write the books at the end of June. He guesstimated we was in and around anything between 15 and 25 million. So you would say the sale of, for argument's sake, a Leon Bailey for 20 million probably would sort out our issues. Now, the fact we are in, where are we? The 23rd of June. We are now 1 week away from that 30th of June deadline. And we have barely seen a hint of a player exit. No real rumours. Strong rumours. You always hear little tidbits. No real strong rumours. Now, with a week to go for that deadline, you would have thought by now Villa, if they had to sell somebody, which they still might, I think there's still a chance that could happen, then I think they would have wanted to have done it at least by now, or probably by the midway through of this week. The fact they haven't leads me to believe that what I was told is very imminent. By imminent, within the next 7 days, because it has to be. And I don't think, I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. But you don't have to be a rocket scientist to hear the rumours and what's going on. So I'm going to leave it up to whoever to announce it, and then talk about it afterwards. And you might say that's a cop-out, but, you know, had I not said anything, then come out afterwards and said, oh, I heard a month ago that this was happening, then people would just say, oh, of course you did. Of course you did. But obviously I understand the other way of doing it, which is the way I've decided to do it, by hinting that there's something coming down the line and not being able to say it. Definitely looks either dodgy or like I'm just trying to do things for clicks, and I'm definitely not. So I've tried to be fair. I've tried to be honest. I've tried to put out information that I think fans want to hear and deserve to hear, but it's not my information to put out. So I feel like I shouldn't be the person that breaks any news coming out of the club. And again, you know, things change. Information you receive can change. For example, I'll give you one bit of information I had in the January transfer window by somebody who you all know, on the last day of the window, saying that the let me just find it. The Axel Disasi deal was off, and that the club have tried their best to do it. And I put a tweet out saying, looks like the Disasi deal's off, not happening. Now, within half an hour of me putting that tweet out from, and one day I'll say who it was that told me, it broke on Sky that Disasi deal was back on. It was late in the day, if you remember. And I messaged that person back and I said, oh, I thought it was done. And they said to me, well, things have changed. So things change very quickly in football, and I would imagine, I've no idea what happened to change that deal, but something happened. Chelsea maybe relented, because I think Disassi, if I remember rightly, was saying he doesn't want to go anywhere but Villa. Chelsea were reticent to let him go to Villa, and I think that's what was the standoff. So Villa basically said, okay, now they might have called Chelsea's bluff and said, fine, we'll walk away. And Chelsea probably wasn't expecting that because it was so late in the day. They probably then realised that we either let him go to Villa or we just sits and picks up his wages at Chelsea for the next 6 months. So I think that kind of thing happens quite a lot. So obviously when you are close to people and you get information, then you are opening yourselves up for things to change very quickly and for things to happen. So I'm trying to come on now, and I'm trying to be as open and as honest as I can, tell you exactly where I'm coming from. As I sit here now, I firmly believe I am calm as anything over our PSR issues. Absolutely, categorically not worried about them at all. We have things in place. We have excellent people in positions of power at Villa making these decisions, and they have been sorting these issues out, not for a couple of weeks, months. That is categorical. Months and months and months working on these deals to get this sorted. And I believe firmly that if and when this deal is announced, then we will be in a very, very good position. There will still be one hurdling block next summer to jump over, but I know they are confident that things will be very, very much more manageable soon. I hope that doesn't annoy many people. I hope I've tried to be brutally honest as I possibly can, and I hope people that know me and have followed me for a long time know that I'm genuine, and I'm certainly not here to do anything for clicks. I'm not, honestly. So thanks for watching. Thanks for all your support, and on the weight loss stuff as well. I've had a brilliant week with that. So yeah, thank you all very, very much, and subscribe to the channel, like this video, drop a comment in the comment section. Have I annoyed you by not saying what it is? I don't know, but we'll see. And as soon as the news drops, I will do a video and explain all. Hope you're all well. Speak to you all soon. Up the Villa.